We all want a clutter-free home, so today I am sharing 5 secrets that will help you find a place or home for everything. We've all heard that saying, a place for everything and everything in its place, right? In the world of organization, that simply means that everything you own should have a place where it is stored when it's not in use. Why the heck does that matter, Taryn? I'm so glad you asked. It's because if you have things that do not have a home, then you can safely classify them as clutter. And if you watch my channel, you know that we don't want clutter. Clutter is our enemy. So let me give you the 5 tips that I've employed. I know these work. These are secrets that will help you find that home for everything. Because when our items in our home have a designated place, they're so much easier to use. They're so much easier to appreciate them. Okay, so this first secret is just something that is fundamental to this entire video. And that is that if you have things that do not have a home and you cannot make a home for them, there's no way to say this, you just have too much stuff. I know that sometimes people like to sugarcoat it, but the writing is on the wall. If you can't store your things and you've implemented storage solutions, you have storage, but you just still can't fit it all, then you need to declutter some items. Trust me, I have this problem as well. We have this back table in our home and you can't really see it unless you go to the back of our house. Then there's this table, and what do you think is on that table? It's not the cup of coffee that I envisioned drinking and looking out on my backyard and enjoying myself. It's clutter. A lot of times my husband, my kids, even I will bring home things and I just won't know where to put it. And where do you think it ends up? On that back table. I clean off that back table very often, and it's this open space that's just begging to be filled with stuff. My husband recently came home with a ping pong ball set. Do you know where that ended up? On the back table. And I told him the new home for this ping pong set is not on this table. You may think everyone in my house is being lazy, but it's not that. It's simply that we just don't have enough storage space, which means we still have too much clutter. I still need to go through my home and do additional passes. And if you feel the same way, then that's what you also need to do. A lot of people talk about this as peeling back the layers of the onion, or the layers of clutter in your home. And all they mean is simply doing multiple passes through your house to get that decluttering going. And maybe you go through your house once and you get rid of 3% of your things. And then maybe you do that second pass and you get rid of 10% of your things. Then you do a third pass and you get rid of 25% of your things. Figure out how many layers you need to peel back or times you need to go through your home to declutter. And then you can figure out how you can have storage for things. And this kind of gets me to my second point, and this actually comes from Dana K. White's container concept. And the idea that she shares is if you have a container, then you can keep as much as will fit into that container. So if you have a dresser drawer for socks, you can have as many socks as will fill that drawer up. And that's your limit. But here's the secret. Half full is the new full. I have lived my life filling things up, shoving things into containers and closing them and keeping them so full. But I figured out that if you can just have halfway as your guideline, it's going to change your life. For example, I have a drawer of workout clothing and things like that, and I used to keep it completely full, so much so that it was a little bit hard for me to open and close the drawer. I have pared it down to half full, and guess what? I am wearing everything in that drawer. When you have your drawer half full or your container half full, something happens where you can actually see the items that you own and you start using them and wearing them and appreciating them more. When the drawer is 100% full, this is what happens, you will only wear and use what is exactly on the top. Now, this is maybe not backed by scientific research, but I can tell you for sure, this is what happens to me. If you have watched my channel, you know that I'm on a mission to streamline the supplements I take, and I'm also trying to take things with more clean ingredients. That's why I'm so excited to share that today's video is sponsored by Ritual. Sponsored content really helps my channel. It helps me to continue to bring you free content. And I absolutely only work with sponsors that I love their company. I personally use the brands, and I think that these are things that you all might love as well. So 3 things with Ritual. They offer supplements that are third-party tested, they're scientifically backed, and they have traceable ingredients. All of these things are so important to me. So let me show you what I've been taking. Okay, so this is my favorite thing, and this is why I'm sharing this first. This is Ritual's gut health supplement. I've been taking probiotics for years, if not at least a decade. I think they're very important to take. I think gut health is very important. They actually call your gut your second brain. And as I get older, I want to think of the ways that I can protect my brain health. So I'm very interested in that. So what this is called is Symbiotic Plus. And what's cool about this is not just a probiotic. This is actually a pre, pro, and postbiotic. So it's all 3 in 1. I don't know about you. I've never seen that before. I haven't found on the market a place where you can get all 3 of those in one pill. This is simply one pill. You take one a day. This is what it looks like. Okay, it's really cute. And let me tell you what is very cool about these. All of their supplements have these little flavor bars in them. Okay, this just is in here. I never would have thought that I would love something so much like this, but this flavor bar is mint, and when you take the vitamin, it has this delicious minty taste, and it's just so much easier to take. I hate swallowing pills. I actually look forward to taking this. The thing about these Symbiotic Plus is that they are delayed release, so a lot of pills will just quickly release in your stomach, and these will instead delay the release and get released in your colon, which is where you want them to be. And then I have the multivitamin, which I also love. So I've been taking this for a while as well. And the thing about Ritual and what I really appreciate, it's about as much as what is in the supplement as what's not in the supplement. So they never add unnecessary ingredients or vitamins or fillers. I've got a code for 25% off. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. If you're interested in checking them out, let me know. But they have different kinds of supplements. And you never want to take too many supplements. So I really love that they've narrowed it down to what's important and what's effective. Okay, moving on to my third secret. I just saw the best analogy on Reddit, so I need to share it with you because it's such a good way to think about it. The person who wrote this, she says that she thinks of her home as her habitat and that clutter is an invasive species. So if any of you have an invasive species in your garden, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have English ivy in my front yard. I didn't even plant it. I think my neighbor planted it and it came over on my side. Who even knows? Every year I hack it away. I try to get rid of it. Anyway, back to the Redditor. She said that leaving clutter in her home causes this invasive species to take over. It's like leaving kudzu vines and poison ivy in your house. And it's gonna choke out anything functional that you wanna use in that space. But she also shares that while some things are displaced by the clutter, most things are actually pretty close to already being in their habitat. And you need to build them a home. So the tip here is to build a home for the things that you have in their natural habitat. So let me just give you an example of what this could look like. So the Redditor shared this tip and she says, for example, she uses dish rags in her kitchen and they had a habit of building up on her countertop because that's where she was using them, that's where she was putting them. So what she did is, because this habitat for her dish rags was the kitchen counter, she simply built a container for those dirty dish rags and it looked nice. She put it on her counter and that's where those dish rags went after they were used. And then when she did the laundry, she collected them from the habitat and put them in the laundry. You would think, well, why not just throw them in the hamper and get rid of them there? You could do that, but for her, that involved walking to the hamper in the bedroom and she just wasn't doing it. She also said that once you get the clutter out of the room that it's inhabiting, you don't need to worry about it coming back. Because once you start having these habitats and functional spaces for your stuff, you feel so good about it that you actually create boundaries for your stuff and you no longer have a clutter problem because you've got those boundaries in place. By the way, if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. It's free. Okay, so all of this kind of leads me to my next secret, and this is actually the fun part or the practical part, but it's finding places for your items. And I'm gonna call this finding practical places for your items because getting back to that example before, we wanna find a place that is logical and practical. If I told my husband, now that you have this ping pong set, you need to store it up in the attic, it's not practical. It's not going to work because when they want to go play ping pong, they're not going to want to walk 2 flights up the stairs to get the ping pong set. Instead, I need to store the ping pong stuff with our sports equipment that we already have. A lot of times we default to storing items where we have space. We think to ourselves, where is there an empty space? That's where I'm going to store this item. But that's the wrong way to think about it. Instead, you need to think about, where would I look for this item? Where is a logical place to put this thing? So if you like to bake, for example, the most practical place that you can store your items, to me, obviously, number one is the kitchen, but number two, maybe it's going to be somewhere near the stove or oven, and it's going to be somewhere eye level where you can easily get to it. And do the same for all of your items. Wherever you're using those items the most, that's where you should strive to keep them, in these practical places. And then this brings me to my final point, and this is all about everything in its place. So all this really means is that having a designated spot for your items is only beneficial if you are going to be returning your items to that spot. The good news here is, once you've done all the other things I've talked about this video, this step is going to be easy, because you are going to make it so easy to return those items to their designated place. You just need to make it a habit. Putting your shoes away when you come home. You just need to have a designated place that's an easy to access place that you're going to actually make a habit. When you walk in the door, you take off your shoes, you put them in that place. I've made it really easy for us, especially for my kids. I have a bin at the front door. They used to just take off their shoes and leave them all thrown around the front door. Now they take off their shoes and they put them in a bin that is conveniently located right next to the front door. So not only is it a practical place because that's where they walk in, it's also designated for shoes, and they've made it a habit to put them in there. So making sure that you have these designated spots, and then the key is actually returning your items to those spots. That's how you're gonna have a place for everything in its place. You are gonna find that if you can implement these 5 things that I've shared, your home is going to be so much more functional, so much less cluttered, so much easier to live in. You're gonna love it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And don't forget, if you wanna check out Ritual, use my code. I guarantee you're gonna love them. I know you're gonna love them as much as I do. Thank you again. And I'm gonna leave a video. If you wanna keep the decluttering going, go ahead and click on it, and I will see you over there. Bye-bye.